welcome back. My name is Victoria and I'm so excited to be introducing someone special today. And without further ado, I'm going to request her to do the introduction, to tell us her name and who her parents are and where she lives and how old she is. Well, welcome with me.
Hello, so happy to be here. My name is Samantha Buyungo, and my parents are Miss Sarah Buyungo and Mr. Boniface Buyungo. And I live in Denver, Colorado, and I'm 21 years old.
Yay, 21 years old. Well, tell us. Now, I have to say, this is a special invitation for Samantha, as you've heard. Now, Samantha, tell us, what year did you graduate high school?
I graduated high school in 2020.
Well, as you can hear, 2020, and what happened in 2020?
There was a global pandemic.
Oh, God. And yeah, that brings us to that question. How did the pandemic affect you?
Initially, I thought, as I'm sure most people thought, the pandemic was going to be something that was going to last a few weeks, and then it would be done, then it would be over. But it lasted a lot longer than that, and so I wasn't able to have an in-person graduation. I didn't get the final senior prom or all these hallmark senior moments that a lot of us, when you're in high school, you grow up and you're like, I can't wait to do this when I'm a senior. These will be the last sort of months and weeks that I'll spend with my best friends, and this is traditionally a time that you spend with your friends before you all kind of separate and go to college or start working. And so because of the pandemic, I didn't really get any of those quintessential high school moments. So it's wonderful to be here, to be able to be celebrated in a way that I wasn't quite able to.
Oh, it warms my heart that we're getting a chance to, sit down and talk. Because I too am a graduate of 2020. High five. We went through it, right? So tell me, how did that make you feel?
Initially, I was really upset. I was really angry, actually, because I was like, I feel like I put in so much work and a lot of effort, and I was really looking forward to these sort of opportunities to be celebrated, and I didn't quite get that. My graduation was over Zoom, but it didn't quite hit the same way. But I feel like I didn't really realize the extent to all that I missed out until my younger sister graduated, and then attending her graduation, seeing her pictures, like getting ready for prom, her grad party, her last moments, like being a high schooler with her friends. I was like, oh my gosh, like this is what it was supposed to look like. I didn't even realize that this is how it was supposed to be, this is how I was supposed to be celebrated. And so I definitely felt like I had to mourn, my high school self who didn't quite get those things. But I feel like now, having been in college for a bit and knowing that my college graduation will be next year, I have things to look forward to. I'm like, okay, now I'm excited.
I love that you're coming out on the winning side.
Yes.
And Mr. and Mrs. Buyungo, if you're watching, yeah, you know what to do. I love it. Well, I know that being in high school and graduating at such a maybe, it's kind of like a high point, but then it comes in a low form in the sense that you didn't get to do the work that you wanted, celebrate with your family like you wanted to. And I can personally relate 100% because I went exactly through the same, and I was just like, why do I have to go through this?
Right.
And when does it ever end?
Exactly.
Mine was postponed to 2021 and still same thing was happening, But when you look back, regardless of the fact that you didn't get to go on the podium and do all the walk and enjoy having the party and all of the fun things, how do you feel when you look back having acquired your diploma?
I was so excited to have my diploma because I worked really hard in high school. I put in a lot of effort, and it felt nice to have sort of a physical representation of you did it, yes, all your hard work paid off.
Yes.
So that was really nice. It was a little surreal because I was like, I can't believe I'm finally done with high school. But it was nice, and it's nice to be able to look back even at my diploma and be like, wow, I really put in a lot and
You did.
proud of myself.
And who do you think was the happiest, mom and dad or your brother, sister?
I definitely think I'm so thankful that my family was so supportive, because I feel like on the day of my graduation I was a little sad, a little melancholy, not as excited as I thought I would be. But my whole family, they were the best hype people ever. They were so excited.
I love it.
And that helped me feel much more excited than I would have been otherwise.
That's good. Now, when you are graduating, I'm expecting or thinking that, of course, there are those that didn't make it, right? Or that didn't graduate with you, right?
Yeah.
So when you kind of look at you and them, you realize the choices you made, you know? So how do you think that, you know, like, for example, your culture has helped you be the person that you are, or how has it helped you, you know, acquire the things that you do have now, you know, being, you know, have graduated high school and moving on to where you are right now. And as a matter of fact, you should tell us where you are now.
So I'm a rising senior at Brown University, and I believe that in college is really the space where I had the time to sort of get to know myself in the context of my culture. I feel like in high school, I was proud of who I am and where I came from, but I feel like because of the people that were around me, I didn't feel very like secure in my culture. I didn't feel like I could be like outwardly proud of it. I think there was just a lot of pressure to sort of like fit in and just, you know, do what you can to like, you know, get the good grade. But in college, I've had the opportunity to meet a lot of people who have parents who are immigrants. I met like one of my really good friends. Her parents are also from Uganda, and we like clicked right away.
How
and,
cool! Share, okay?
And it was so fun to talk about like food that we both liked, that we had in common, customs, dress. Just like it was so nice to have someone who knew exactly how I grew up, and it sort of inspired me to join my modern African dance team at school. And that has been one of the best decisions I've made in college, because I've been able to connect with students whose parents or who themselves are from like Uganda, Cameroon, South Africa, Kenya, just all over. And it's just been sort of a wonderful family, and it just feels like home. Like every time we dance, every time we rehearse, and it's been a wonderful space for me to feel very confident in who I am, my parents, my ancestry, my lineage, and when I'm with them, it just feels like, you know, we're all the product of all the hardworking people who came before us, and get to celebrate that together.
That is so beautiful to say. Oh my goodness, that's so lovely. So tell us, so when you were in high school, what was your favorite subject? And did you also have a favorite teacher, you know?
So in high school, I think it was a tie for my favorite subject between music and my science classes. I play piano, and so I really loved being able to learn new music and sort of engage musically with my peers. And I feel like it was a wonderful way for me to discover or explore parts of myself, since I'm more of an introverted person. So I feel like I could be, you know, loud or noisy or angry like through music, whereas I couldn't quite be that way because of being a more introverted person. And I really enjoyed my science classes, because I just really love to learn more about how our bodies work, just how things come to be, and it really sort of inspired what I'm studying now in college, which is neuroscience. Yeah. So in high school, those were definitely my two favorite subjects.
That is so beautiful to hear. So now tell me this is a silly question, but if you're angry, since you're an introvert, do you hit the keys harder, or?
I definitely would. There's definitely some practice sessions on the piano where the piano probably was like, whoa, calm down.
They come out and they're like, are you okay?
Yes, my parents were definitely like, is everything okay? But I feel like definitely music was a wonderful extension of my voice and a way to just explore my emotions, explore the things that I was capable of, and sort of translate that like discipline and creativity into other aspects of my life.
So what inspired you to get into neuroscience?
So it was a bit of a bumpy road, because I came into college, I was like, I'm going to be an engineer. I was going to be a biomedical engineer. And I was like, it's going to be great. I have my plan lined out. I know what I'm going to take. And then I took an engineering class my first semester, and it was okay. I was like, you know, I didn't love it, but maybe let me take another class and see how it works. And then my second semester, I lasted 8 weeks in that engineering class, and I had to drop it because I hated it so much. It was making me so sad. And so after that, I was like, okay, engineering didn't work out. I was like, I kind of liked my chemistry classes. Maybe I could study biochemistry. And then I took organic chemistry as a sophomore, and it was okay, but I was like, I don't really think I'm really liking this. Because my advisor at the time was like, yeah, you'll take organic chemistry 1, organic chemistry 2. And I'd taken a neuroscience class the semester before, and I really struggled with it because it was my first college-level biology class. But I really liked it. I thought it was super interesting. And so I talked to some of my friends who were studying neuroscience, and I was like, I think I might want to switch and study this instead. And it was a bit of a gamble because I switched into neuroscience after I'd already declared biochemistry. So I had to redeclare neuroscience and find a new advisor, and it was just a lot of work. And a lot of my friends were like, why are you putting in all this work to change again? Maybe just stick with biochemistry and just graduate.
Right.
And I was like, I'm really going to try. So I switched into neuroscience, and I really loved it. I think what I love about it is the intersection between like hardcore STEM and sort of philosophy and public health. So you can think about the brain in terms of like what chemicals are responsible and like what neurotransmitters are there, but you can also think about the brain in terms of like your idea of self and like what makes up me, what are my emotions, how do my experiences shape like how I think and how I walk through the world. So for me, it's been a wonderful match, and I've really liked all my classes, even though they've been difficult.
Yes.
But that's sort of how I came to neuroscience. It was, a bit of a road that I wasn't expecting to go on, but I'm really grateful for it.
It seems like you're on a very good path and you know what you want to do, and I think sometimes in life that's what we go through in trying to discover what you want to do. Right. And here you are, right? What would you advise somebody that's having a similar situation like yourself? They're trying to go to college, they want to be this, maybe let's say they want to be, let's say, I guess, and you want to do neuroscience, and maybe they get there and things don't pan out for them. So what would you advise, a fellow student that's going through that?
I would definitely tell a fellow student what I wish I could tell my younger self.
Exactly. There you go.
To just allow yourself to change. Like, don't subscribe to certain ideas of how you should be or what you should do or other people's timelines. Because if you're so distracted looking at what other people are doing, you miss out on all the beautiful things that you can do. And to just allow yourself to take chances. I feel like a few months ago I was kind of a little upset with myself because I feel like I was like, I had such a sort of a wacky road through college. Like some of my friends, they're still studying what they came in studying, and I was like, I wish I had that certainty. But I love that I was bouncing around, taking classes in all different departments, and I love that I took chances and stepped outside of my comfort zone.
Yes.
Because I feel like now I'm like, okay, I definitely know what I like, I definitely know what I don't like, and I've discovered really interesting things about myself in the process. I took an architecture class, and I was like, ooh, I wouldn't want to be an architect, but this was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And so one of my friends came up to me, and they were like, they're also in the same year as me, a rising senior, and they're like, I wish I'd taken more chances in college. I wish I'd branched out more, because they've been kind of studying the same thing that they've been doing, sort of the same sorts of classes.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's so interesting that that's something that you're like, I wish I'd done.
Right.
And originally it was something that I was like, I wish I hadn't done this. So definitely my biggest piece of advice is just allow yourself to change, and don't get scared if you don't have a clear path. I think a lot of the living is in these sorts of detours that we take, and these accidental things that you're like, I didn't even know that this path would lead me here. So being open to things changing, and knowing that being uncertain is part of discovering what you like.
It actually is, and I think most people shy away or get so scared when you go through things like that. But I think life, you can't have tunnel vision.
Exactly.
You have to kind of look at life differently. But I guess when you're young, it's a discovery. It's like a journey. Sometimes you go this way, you go the other way, but
Exactly.
you somehow end up coming back to where you started, and as long as you don't completely derail off of where, what you want to do. And it seems like you've really made such great choices, and I'm so happy for you. And I just noticed that I see the National Honor Society over here. Woo-hoo!
Yes.
So tell us, what was your GPA, high school? And then also tell us, how does one become or get to being part of the National Honor Society, because you just don't get there just like that, okay?
My high school GPA was a 5.1.
Oh,
we were on
wow.
like a 5.2
Woo-hoo-hoo.
scale. And I believe if I remember correctly, to be part of the National Honor Society, obviously you had to have a high GPA and be able to maintain it. And you also had to do community service, which I really liked because I feel like it's really wonderful to get in touch with their community and sort of be like, okay, like, how are my actions helping my community and uplifting my community?
Right.
And I believe those were the two main things, like, doing well in your classes and making sure to maintain that, and then being active in your community.
I think you just kind of made it seem so look so simple.
It
was so graceful.
work.
So tell us, while you were in high school, did you do any extracurricular activities? Did you do any sports? And if you did, what did you do?
So in high school, I played piano, so that was one of my pretty big extracurriculars. I was also part of Challenge Team 5280, which is a club throughout all of like Denver public schools working toward addressing social injustices like in your school. And I joined, when I was part of the club, it was sort of in its like grassroots phase, so we had to do a lot to kind of get it up and running, because the previous teacher, who was the sponsor for the club, sort of like left it, and they're like, okay, like do something with it. And so then when the new sponsor came on, like that's when I joined the club, and it was a wonderful way to sort of really address things that are like, hey, I would like to see this improved in my school. And especially since the school I went to, students have to audition to get into the school. So it provides like an automatic barrier as to who can get in and who can't. And so being able to be like, hey, this is something I want to talk about and address was a really wonderful experience for me. It definitely helped me grow as a student, also as a public speaker, having to talk to teachers about like, hey, this is something that I think we should change, and even being able to meet up with individuals from other schools in the Denver Public School District. And being able to learn about what sorts of change they wanted to see in their schools, and sort of get advice from them, learn from them, present to other students about like, this is what we're doing in our school. I feel like that was a wonderful way for me to engage with my school like on a deeper level and say like, I really enjoy attending this school, and I feel like other people should also have the opportunity to do so. So that's one big thing. I was also president of my school's Music Honor Society, which was a wonderful experience. It was also hard because the year that I became president was the year our main sponsor left the school. So it was me and I had a group of friends who were also like, they were like the treasurer and like my vice president, and so we had to email a bunch of people to try and get our club like reinstated. And that club, like its mission was, it's very similar to Challenge 5280, but sort of allowing or creating spaces for students who are auditioning to, have more support when getting into the school, especially students who, don't have access to like a private teacher or didn't have like vocal lessons or something like that. So something that we would do is the club would host like an audition preparatory day. So all the students in the club, like we would serve as like coaches and mentors to like these incoming students who are thinking of auditioning, and we would hold like mock auditions to be like, okay, this is what your audition is going to be like. We're going to give you some feedback so that you can go home and be even more prepared for your audition. And so planning that was really chaotic. Since I had to be in charge of everything.
It's not easy, but
I think it was. Thank you. But I think it was a really wonderful way for me to step into a leadership role and be like, okay, this is what it feels like to be in charge. People are counting on you. How do you perform well under pressure? Like parents are asking where this is and that is. People are asking you like, did we do that? And like having to delegate and be like, calm, collected leader
Yeah.
was something that I had to learn through that experience. So those were like the biggest things that I was part of in high school.
Yeah, I love that. And how do you feel that those clubs helped in kind of guiding you now that you're in college? How do you feel like being, would you advise somebody to be part of the clubs or, of course there's so many benefits, right?
Yeah, I think joining any club that involves public speaking or leadership is super important because in college you have the opportunity to engage and like with a whole bunch of people, and being able to speak in front of a crowd is really difficult, and it's something that was really hard for me as more of an introverted person. But it's a skill that everyone needs, and so if you can start developing it earlier,
The better.
it's better. And something like being president was definitely a useful thing because in college I'm part of a lab now, like a neuroscience research lab, and at the end of this past semester I had to give a presentation to my entire lab, and I was really, really scared because the people I were working with were counting on me to sort of understand this data, present it nicely, and I was really stressed, but being able to like stand up in front of everybody and talk through things in like a calm, logical way.
Yes.
I was like, I'm glad I had practice in high school doing this.
Yes.
Because I feel like it's prepared me to talk in front of different kinds of crowds in college.
Right.
I definitely think being a musician has helped a lot in college, even though I'm not studying music. I think being a musician has given me a lot of creativity, and it helps me think outside the box or in ways that most people wouldn't think.
Normally do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And being a musician as well, like you have to deal with a lot of, sometimes you're going to play something and it's really not going to come out right, or there will always be people who are better than you, and so being able to establish a strong sense of like self-worth, like like I'm gonna be okay, I believe in myself. Yes, there'll be people who are smarter than me, better than me, more talented than me, but I have a lot to bring to the table as well.
Right.
And so allowing myself to really like sit with myself and be like, it's gonna be okay, like I believe in myself. I think those are important things that I learned in high school as well.
I think that's beautiful. You believe in yourself and believe in you 100%. Oh my God, I'm so excited for you and what God has in store for you. But since you spoke about music, you didn't tell us what your favorite song was during high school and how that, like you're very musical. And I'm sure you probably had a playlist because we're in the pandemic, right? Do share.
So I feel like I don't know if I can narrow it down to one song, but there is an album that I think I come back to a lot, and it reminds me of my high school experience. And it seems kind of silly, and it is very silly, but for me, the album that I feel like is very hallmark of my high school experience is the Shrek the Musical album. And it is very silly.
I love it.
But as a junior in high school, I had the opportunity me and one of my really good friends, who's also a pianist, we played piano in the orchestra that accompanied like the school musical. So we were essentially like in the pit because all the musicians were literally in a pit that was like below the stage. And it was the first time I'd ever done anything like that, like playing with a group of musicians, accompanying a musical, so having to keep track of cues and like watch the actors and be like, okay, I'm gonna come in at this moment, and also syncing up like what the actors are doing with what the tech people are doing in terms of lighting, and being in the orchestra of this school musical, I think was one of my favorite experiences in high school. And the musical was Shrek the Musical.
Oh wow.
And I had to learn so much music over the summer to prepare. It was like 200 pages worth of music.
No way.
So it was really stressful, but it was a wonderful way for me to see like, oh, I'm capable of so much more than I thought I could do. I've learned all this music. I've been playing and rehearsing it over and over again. And because of that, I think I listened to the Shrek the Musical album like more than 100 times.
I have a feeling
listen to
one
every
by one.
song. And it was really funny because I was shuffling through my music when I was studying for my finals. just to see like what would come up. And one of the songs from Shrek the Musical came up, and I still knew every single line. And I was like, this is so crazy. It's been like almost 4 years, and this is still ingrained in my head.
Yes.
But every time I listen to that music, however silly it is, it reminds me of like being in that pit, long rehearsals, and feeling really accomplished like with every single show. Like people would come from the audience and look down in the pit because they thought we used a soundtrack, and they were always surprised to see high schoolers. Like, oh, the high schoolers were the ones making this music for this show. Like, this is so amazing. So
you've done so much, and I cannot imagine you being in that pit. When you say it pit, is it literally like a pit?
It is literally a hole, yeah.
I do want to come see you play, okay? So next time you're in town and you're going to do one of those shows, please give your auntie a call, okay? We get the family discount, right?
Of course.
Oh my goodness, I'm so excited to have had you here, Samantha.
Thank you.
You have such a beautiful spirit, and you've been so, resilient. You've persevered through so many things. And just like you all know, Samantha was here because she's a 2020 graduate. And of course, you all know that we didn't get a chance to celebrate our graduations, but it's beautiful to hear your story. And I know there are people that are out there that have had similar situations in life like you have had. But I want to thank you so much for, accepting our invite to come and talk to, our, viewers. Thank you so much. I cannot wait for what God has in store with you.
Thank you.
And I know you're going to do it. You're graduating what year?
I'm graduating college in 2024. So
Wow.
next year.
Oh.
I know.
She's going to be back here. We're bringing her back to the bench, right?
Of course.
I'm so excited for you, dear. Thank you so much for being here. We love you, and we cannot wait to see you tell us that the tassel was worth the hassle. Thank you, Samantha, and congratulations to the class of 2020. We can't wait for 2024. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, darling. Oh, bye-bye.